we're going to not use the leash. Now we're going to use the tug. Now we're going to use the ball. And we're going to teach you how to do things because you're a Malinois and Australian cattle dog mix. Likes to chase things, likes to bite things, right? Well, we can't let them chase and bite things, but we could structure that into our training, into our play. And now we could fulfill that dog. And during that game, that training, that playing, there's a lot of rules and boundaries that you have to abide by, right? You have to understand yes, but you have to understand no also. You have to understand neutrality, right? When I say don't touch that toy that's on the floor, you can't touch it. Now I'm the one telling you what to do. We're a team. We're a team. You're going to love this game. We don't care about the toy, but you're going to love this game. But I am the captain of that team, right? And then when we go out and venture out into the real world, yeah, we're still a team. You're my boy, but I'm still the captain of that team. And the dog has to be able to look at you and understand that you can control all that stuff. But up until this point, the dog has controlled everything, okay? Has controlled everything, all right? So, for years I got asked about my dogs. How did you train this? How did you train that? Listen, my first dog, me and my wife, destroyed, like a lot of people do. We made it so weak mentally because that was our baby. We did everything wrong. We coddled that dog. We loved on that dog. I threw a Frisbee for that dog, but there were no rules and boundaries with that dog. We gave it everything it wanted. We took it to meet every old people living in all the old people, the snowbirds that came down from up north when we lived in Arizona. Loved meeting them every day. And we'd take him everywhere and he'd be loved on like crazy. He would disappear out of our apartment and I couldn't find him. I'd have to knock on my neighbor's door and the old people would be rolling around on the floor playing with him. We'd leave the house, he'd be screaming bloody murder, so I didn't put him in the crate. I'd leave him loose and barricade him in the kitchen. Then I'd come home. One day I'd come home, the gate is down from the kitchen and there's little white footprints all over our apartment. And I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden I look up and here comes Ben. He was all black, jet black. He comes out of my room looking at me like this and all I could see is his eyes. He was covered in white powder. I had a big box of, you guys know what Metrics is, like the meal replacement stuff. This was Perfect RX Vanilla. I had a whole case in my room. He ripped apart the whole case. There was protein powder everywhere. He was covered head to toe. We destroyed him. Right? He struggled his whole life. When we'd go on vacation and we'd board him and our first Rottweiler together, the Rottweiler thrived, then suffered because he couldn't be away from us. We created that. He wasn't born like that, you understand? Then when we got our first Rottweiler, the vets scared the bejesus out of me. We were in Arizona and said, don't take this dog anywhere till he's a year old because parvo is so bad. So guess what? I didn't take the dog anywhere till he was a year old. And by now I'm learning more because I'm working with the trainer with my first dog and I'm obsessed with the behavior, right? So a year later, me and my buddy John, who also worked for the Border Patrol, he had a boxer, Cyrus, our first Rottweiler, was a year old. I said, now I could take him out. I said, hey, John, let's get the dogs to meet today, right? So John says, yeah, that's a good idea. I said, all right, see you in a little while. So I go out, we're going to meet halfway. I'm walking Cyrus. I see my buddy John coming with his dog, and we're coming together. Again, totally wrong. And our dogs meet on leash. And Cyrus, my Rottweiler, is looking at this dog like, what am I supposed to do here? Totally confused because he had lived in my backyard, in my house this whole time. Never been exposed to nothing, right? And the boxer's looking like, hey, maybe we should play or do something. I don't know what to do. And we're just standing there. What are they going to do? And then the boxer took his paw and he went, boom, hit Cyrus in the head, wanting to play. And Cyrus said, oh, screw that. Snapped the dog up and flipped him over on his back because he didn't know how to react. And now my Rottweiler's on top of my buddy John's boxer. He's not hurting him, but he's not letting him go. And their collars got tangled up. And I'm yelling, John, help me get these dogs apart. He said, I'm not getting in there. So here I am trying to get these dogs apart, right? So I made all these mistakes. But every dog I got, I learned more and more and more. And I saw the value in how how important all these little things were. Now, when I first started getting recognized in dog training, a big part of that was because of Bruno, my Rottweiler, who was a superstar. He was an incredible dog, and he traveled with me all over the country. And every place I went, people would say, how did you train this dog to be like this? Like, he was just incredible. No one was ever scared of him, even though he was a Rottweiler, because the look on his face was always soft and happy, and he would meet people everywhere. And he loved everybody. He loved going to the vet. They could stick thermometers in his butthole, they could stick needles in him, and he didn't care because he was getting to interact with people, and that's what he loved. But guess what? Bruno was the worst puppy we ever had. He was a nightmare. He was an absolute terror. He was a nightmare. He was one of 13 puppies. 12 of those puppies, the 12 other puppies, were all put down by the time they were a year old. All put down, right? Little background on that. I had looked for a Rottweiler that I wanted for a long time. Couldn't find what I wanted. Then one day, there's a young guy in Eastern Kentucky. Anyone knows what Eastern Kentucky is like? Think of Deliverance, right? So me and Stephanie drive several hours to go look at this litter of 13 puppies. We pull up in front of the house, and there's a female, the mama, is sitting on the porch. She looks at us, no bullshit. She opens the front door to the house, runs inside, comes back out with a toy to come say hello to us. I was like, oh my God, this dog is incredible, right? So we already know the stability of the mom and the social aspect of the mom is beautiful, but she was sucked dry from 13 puppies. I wanted to see the dad. I had only seen pictures of him, and the guy was very honest. He goes, look, this is my first breeding. I'm just trying to get into this. He goes, I can't bring the dad here because he's out of control. Like, he's out of control. He wants to chase everything. He wants to go after the cows like he's a lunatic. And I said, okay, well, I appreciate the honesty, but I want that kind of energy and drive, right? Said, is he aggressive towards people? He goes, no, people think he is because he's so out of control and intense, but no. It's okay. Well, the guy was honest with everything else, so I believed him. So out of the 13 puppies, I looked at what everybody was doing. We spent some time there, and we picked Bruno. We took Bruno home, and right from the start, he was a lot. He was just so much. He was nuts, right? But by now, I knew how to train a dog. I knew a lot. So Bruno spent a lot of time in his crate because when he came out of his crate, he couldn't be loose in the house at all, because he would just rip down the blinds. He would rip the couch up. He was nuts. So when he came out of his crate, me and him would go outside and we would do cool things together out there, right? He didn't get tired. So then